Hey y'all, my name's Katie if you don't already know me, and welcome to my channel. So, it's been a little bit since I've been on here, because Matt's working a lot lately, and other than that, we've been busy as a family. I decided to go ahead and do a video that's been laying on my heart for a couple of weeks. So today I'm going to be talking about overdosing. I want to tell a few stories of experiences that I have had with people overdosing. I just recently lost a family member to an overdose due to drug addiction. And since that happened, this has been really weighing on my heart. I think it's important for me to share some of my experiences. I think people can learn a lot from my experiences. I wish I would have known then what I know now, and vice versa. So I guess there's no real way to get into it. So here we go. So I'm going to take y'all back to before I ever started using, when I met my ex, who y'all know as Chris. This was before the heroin epidemic happened and everybody started overdosing on heroin, and you start seeing it all over the news and all of that stuff. So yeah, I'm going to take you way back to then. Imagine me pregnant, in the situation I was in when I had moved back to Kentucky from Georgia. Chris had asked me to take him to Nashville when we got off work one day so he could meet his brother. So I just want to insert right here and say Chris and I were not dating yet. I had just met him a couple weeks before when I got the job. I hadn't been home for a month yet. And he told me that his brother owed him some money, and whatever the reason was, he told me he would fill my gas tank up and give me some money for taking him. So I was like, okay, sure, I don't really have anything better to do, and I liked this guy. So I decided to take him to Nashville. Now, this is before I ever had anything to do with Nashville. I had never really been there other than for concerts. I never hung out there. I didn't really have friends there or anything. So I drive out there and I go to his sister's house, which is where his brother was too. We pick up his brother, and he tells me that we're going to go with his brother to get some pills. Now, at this point, I already knew he did pills, so I really didn't think anything of it. I was like, okay, no big deal. I guess we're already out here. I guess I'll take you. So I remember going to take him and his brother to the other side of Nashville to meet their drug dealer. And we wait, and then finally meet them. And then once they get the stuff, they get back in my car, and I'm taking them back to drop his brother off. And then me and Chris are going to head back to Kentucky. I remember driving, heading back, and it was dark, and I have astigmatism. I only have one contact in. I'm having the hardest time driving because the lights, if you have astigmatism, you know what it's like to be driving with lights in the middle of the night. And him and his brother were getting their stuff out in my car. And I was like, y'all, please, like, I don't want to get pulled over and something crazy happen. They're like, no, 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 you're cool, you just drive. We're just going to do a little bit and put it back in our pocket. If we get pulled over, we're going to take the fall for our own shit. So I'm like, all right, whatever. But y'all still have to give me directions. So they're like, okay. So I remember Chris putting something out on a piece of paper on my dash. And as I'm driving, I look over. So he leans forward and snorts it. And I remember looking like I was a little confused because I don't know how he just straight snorted a pill without like crushing it up or anything. But at this point, like, I know nothing about pills or anything about what they're doing. So I'm driving. I'm on the interstate, and I'm on Briley Parkway, and I start to come up on their exit on Briley Parkway. I look over at him. I see him put his hands on his face like this. And this is the angle I'm seeing him at. And he just has his hand on his face, and he drops one, and he's like this, and he's just frozen with his hand right here on his face. And I'm like, "Are you okay? Are you okay?" And he's just like barely responding. He's like, uh, uh. I'm like, "What the fuck?" So I'm coming off the ramp, and I remember coming to the light, and I'm like, as soon as I stop at this light, like, I'm about to shake the life out of him. His brother's in the back seat, and he's hitting him. He's like, I mean, oops. Come on, Chris. Wake up. Like, you're scaring her. Quit fucking around. And of course, I come up at this light, and lo and behold, it's green, so I can't even stop. So I keep going through the light, and he's not moving. He's not talking, nothing. So I'm like, is he okay? Is he okay? And I start to I put my hand on his chest, and I can't tell if he's breathing or anything. His brother's in the back seat. He's like, don't worry about it. Everything's fine. He'll be fine, right? So I'm like, okay. He knows better than I do. That's his brother, right? So I pull into the subdivision. It didn't take me 30 seconds to go through the light and get to their house. I get to their house, and his brother is sitting in the car, and I stop and I look at Chris, and his face is ghost white, and his lips are starting to turn blue and purple. And I tell his brother, I'm like, something's not right. What is wrong with him? And I'm trying to wake him up, and he's not responding to me. I realize, he's dead. And I don't know what to do. I'm so confused. And his brother's like, hold on, hold on, hold on. Let me go get our sister, Shay. So he runs in the house, and he gets Shay. I had never met Shay before, nor his brother, Dylan. We'll call him Dylan. Dylan runs in the house to get Shay. Shay comes out. She opens my passenger side door. She says hi to me. She says, I'm sorry we had to meet like this. And I'm like, it's fine. Just help me. And she starts trying to talk to Chris. And I remember her hitting him in the face and stuff. And she said, you need to get him to the hospital now. And I'm like, the hospital? Where's the hospital? I don't even know where the hospital is. I'm not from Nashville. I don't even know where I am right now. What am I supposed to do? So I'm trying to get Shay to come with me, and she's like, I can't. I'm sorry. My daughter's inside. Y'all. So I'm like, okay, everybody just leave me with the dead man in the car. That's totally fine. To put things into perspective, this is when Google Maps just became real big. I had a TomTom in my car still. My phone did the Google Maps thing, but it wasn't something everybody was doing all the time. But I did think, oh, let me pull up my Google Maps and see if I can find a hospital. Now, this was when Google Maps first became real big and on everybody's phone, so it wasn't listed. The only thing it said was Vanderbilt, and they're telling me that there's another hospital closer than Vanderbilt. So they're trying to give me directions, and I'm like, I can't. I have to just go. We don't have time. He's turning purple. I put the car in reverse. Dylan is like, be careful. Make sure you take the stuff out of his pocket before you take him in, and this, that, and the third. And I'm like, what is in his pocket? And I'm like, you know what? I don't have time. I put the car in reverse, and I fly backwards out of the driveway. As I put it in the drive and start pulling off, Dylan waves me down and runs to the car, and he's like, never mind, I'll go with you. Now, mind you, I just spent 2 minutes frantic begging somebody to go with me to show me where the hospital is, and nobody wants to come with me. Oh, God. Did I say I was pregnant at this time? Pregnant? hormonal, freaking out. Oh my gosh, y'all. So I get back on the interstate. He's like, it's the next exit, go up, pop a right, whatever. I fly up there the whole way there. I'm pressing on his chest. I'm telling him to give him CPR. His own brother won't give him CPR. I was so pissed. I'm like, I don't care. He's like, I'm like, do it. Like, don't worry about fucking what it looks like right now. I was so frustrated, and his brother was so high. He was unbelievable to even talk to at this point. So I remember as I'm turning off the ramp and to where the hospital is, I have my arm stretched over and I'm just trying to feel for a heartbeat, something. And I can't feel anything. And I'm freaking out. I pull into where this hospital is, and this hospital's pretty big. And mind you, I'm not familiar with it. So I pull in, I go up a hill, and it comes down, and then it's like this big hospital, right? And I don't know where the ER is. Dylan doesn't know where the ER is, and Chris sure the hell ain't going to be able to tell me where it is. So I'm driving around the hospital, I'm trying to find it. I circled around the whole hospital one time and couldn't find it. So I pull into a parking lot as fast as I can because at this point I'm thinking I can't find the ER doors, but I need to get out and try to save his life. And if what I'm doing doesn't work, I've got to run and bang on some windows at this place and get some help, something, right? At this point I'm thinking anything that I can do to save this man's life. I park the car and I get out and I open my passenger door and I lay the passenger seat down and I start performing CPR. Oh, it felt like I had performed CPR for an eternity. I really don't know how long it was, but it was definitely minutes. And I decide I need to sit him up and try to get him to throw up. Because at this point, I'm thinking I need to get whatever's in his system out. I don't know what else to do. But I know it hadn't been 30 minutes since he had taken it, so I could possibly get him to throw it up. I sit him up in the car. Dylan helps me push the seat up because he's dead weight. As I pull the lever to get the seat up, Dylan pushes it up from the back seat and it sits Chris upright. And I remember lifting his head up and breathing into his mouth again and compressing his chest again while he's sitting up. And I hit him in the chest real hard. And I remember laying my head in his lap and bawling my eyes out because I'm pregnant and my hormones just went in overdrive. And I'm crying and I'm saying, please, 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 please wake up. I can't, I can't live with myself knowing that you died in my car because I took you to go get the drugs you wanted. I can't live with that guilt. And no sooner than I stopped talking and started crying again, I heard and I looked up and Chris had opened his eyes and his eyes were the widest and most crazed I had ever seen. And he said, and just started breathing again. I remember he looked at me and he said, what's wrong? What's wrong? I remember just walking away. because I can't believe what I'm just bore witness to. I walk away from the car and I stand behind it and I just cry. I can hear Dylan talking to him as Chris is asking what happened. What's wrong? What happened? And Dylan tells him, you overdosed. And he said, what? And I remember I kept asking, what did you take? What happened? What just happened? Because I really don't fucking know and I need to know. Took him a while to tell me that he had conned me into taking him to go get heroin and not pills. And that's what he had snorted in my car. At this moment, I decide that I don't want anything to do with this anymore. I don't want anything to do with heroin, Nashville, none of it. I was done with it. And if he was going to continue it, I wouldn't be around for it, or so I thought. This was my first encounter with an overdose. My first encounter with heroin in general. Way before I even had anything to do with it personally. Now, I don't know what y'all can take from that story other than if someone is overdosing, don't wait like I did. Try to help them immediately. Stop what you're doing and give them CPR immediately. And be on the phone with 911 while you're doing so. He overdosed on me several times, and each time I was there to save his life. Fast forward to the middle of my drug addiction while I was homeless on heroin and cocaine. And Chris and I had gotten a hotel room. But we had gotten a hotel room and we got the dope and we shot it up. And I remember him putting it in the spoon and me going, you really shouldn't do that much. Bless you, Tankalink. My baby's got allergies. Oh, baby. I remember looking at it when he was putting in the spoon and going, you really shouldn't do that much. And he was like, basically telling me he was going to do as much as he wanted. And I would always say, please don't. Like, I don't want to have to go through watching you die again. Because at this point, I had already seen him overdose 3 times. This time is the 4th time. This time, he shot it up. And we're standing there next to each other, and I had hit my stuff after he had already hit his. As I'm untying, I look at him and I can see him start to like lose it. Like their eyes start to roll back, they start to kind of lose balance. It's kind of hard to tell the difference between an overdose and whether you're just high on heroin. Because if you get some really good stuff and you're shooting up, it tends to like make your eyes roll and kind of make you out of it sleepy and just real. But I had like mastered it. I knew when someone was overdosing and not just high. And when Chris's eyes rolled back and he hit the wall with his body and leaned forward towards me, I knew that was it and he was out. And for the first time since, well, the second time, I thought I was really going to lose him. I remember him going completely limp on me. And at this point, I didn't weigh but 95 pounds soaking wet. His body went completely limp, and I caught him as he went to the floor, and I just set him back against the wall. And I grabbed my phone and I called 911 immediately. I'm telling them what's going on and where we are. And I scooped him up and put I scooped my arms up under his, and I picked him up and I wobbled, walking back and forth, dragging his body between my legs, and then finally leaned him against the bed in the hotel room. And I'm slapping him, I'm giving him CPR, I'm crying on the phone, pumping his chest, I'm laying him down, I'm sitting him up. And by the time the ambulance got there, as soon as they came in the door, he woke up. All the other times in between this, I had Narcan. I always kept it because I got so sick of seeing people die and feeling so helpless. So, what I want to say to you guys is if someone around you does drugs that you know is an addiction, get some Narcan. Please get some Narcan. It is free at most places. Depending on where you live, there's usually a needle exchange that gives it for free. If not, it's like $5. I promise you, you may not need it, but I promise you, if you do, you will thank me for getting it. Because when somebody overdoses, unlike the situations I went through where I'm compressing their chest and I'm giving them CPR and slapping them, laying them down, sitting them up, trying to get them to come back, and by the grace of God, they finally catch wind. The difference between that and Narcan is that you could just pull Narcan up in a needle and pop them with it anywhere in their body and they're going to snap out of it. Or they have Narcan that you can like put under their nose. I'm not familiar with that, but I heard it works just as well. So I'm editing right now and I realized that here I just kind of transition into telling a story about Narcan, but why I put this here is because I wanted to show you guys the big difference between having Narcan and not having it. So, man, I remember being in the car with Chris one time and giving him, he wanted my dope because they had picked me up after I crashed that truck and had shot up all the dope I had. I gave him the rents to the dope I did after I just tried to kill myself and it didn't work. And I give him the rents and he's in the back seat of someone's car who doesn't even know he's shooting up. And he overdosed in her car. By the grace of God, I had Narcan on me that time and I was able to just draw it up and pop him with it and just stare at him in hopes that he was going to come to. And he did really quickly. But wasn't quick enough for her to not notice it. Oh goodness, these are just the overdoses that I'm speaking on. There were other people who I've helped, but I wanted to tell these stories so you guys understood the difference between having Narcan and not having Narcan. When you don't have Narcan, it's very iffy. You can slap them in their chest, their face, give them, the oxygen they need and stuff like that. But it's kind of up to them at that point of whether they're willing to like fight back. And Narcan doesn't always work. It just works more often than not. I never overdosed. And as many times as I tried, I'm grateful I didn't. And no matter what happened between Chris and I'm glad that he didn't die on me. By the grace of God, every time I was around, I was able to save someone. I started thinking it was a curse. Like, am I stuck on heroin? And I can't overdose no matter how hard I try, no matter how much dope I do. But I can save anybody around me. I don't know, I was in a really bad place, but I really used to think that. Sorry guys, I didn't expect this video to be as long as it is, but in memory of my cousin who has just passed away, I had to share this to give you guys an insight on overdosing and what you can do to help people and how to be prepared if a loved one is in addiction. Sometimes you're not always able to get them out of addiction as quickly as you'd want to, but you can at least be prepared to not lose them to it. If your loved ones are addicted, please, please, please try to find some Narcan near you. You can usually get it for free, if not only a couple dollars. And I promise you, you won't regret it. I think I'm going to end this one right here, y'all.